Imagine staring at a billboard. You stare at that billboard every day on your way to work, stuck in traffic. You do this every day on your way to work and back from work. You've done it over and over and over again that you now feel like you know the face on the billboard. Now you begin to make up stories for that face. Do they like their coffee with cream and sugar or just plain black? This person on the billboard is now your person. But the problem is, they are a stranger. In the not too distant or perhaps distant years past, when magazines thrived and glamorized, we used to bury our faces and flipped each page, admiring and longing, but not feeling like we knew anything about the faces splashed all over the magazine. We simply perused and closed the book. The end. Now the story has changed. With the introduction of social media, namely Instagram, we get to see people we ordinarily wouldn't have seen right across our phone screens. Such proximity to our faces then slowly begins to change our perception of the truth. Take Kim Kardashian, for example. We see her over and over again, from her regularly active stories to her feed posts and reels. We see her family's activities, including that of her kids. We know Sainty is great at football and loves to sport passionately. See, even I refer to him as Sainty, like the rest of the family, as though I belong in the family and have the full right to be endearing with him, when in actual fact, I ought to call him by his name, Saint.
I'd ask any one of my best friends. I am a good time, okay?
I always say I hit the jackpot in the family department. SOS.
These are classic examples of the parasocial relationships that I refer to. A feeling that they're your friend whom you can simply chat with by commenting on their feed. We feel protective and defensive when it comes to them and maybe even cry when they do. Let's talk Taylor Swift and her Swifties.
I'm a psychiatrist and I'm currently being canceled by the Swifties for making a post criticizing her most recent album. And I think this is a time to revisit the definition of parasocial relationships because I have been shocked by the comments that have been left on my post. The amount of people who are commenting like they're intimate friends with her, know what goes through her head, are there with her writing her songs is alarming to me. Maybe we do understand some things about her through her music and through, what she posts and how she communicates to her fans, but we do not know her.
Taylor has long ago created this allure of a bond which her fan base have fed into. She gives the impression that she's your best friend and the girl next door, when in fact, she is not. She is a mega superstar who is very wealthy and can afford anything she wants, but the Swifties would disagree. To them, Taylor is their friend who knows them and sees them. She hugs them, and it doesn't hurt that she constantly shows them her cats. I remember Meredith Grey, and I'm not even a Swiftie. You see what I mean? Parasocial relationships. Beyonce, that goddess of a human, bless her heart, is on the opposite end of the spectrum, showing us just enough for us to know she's active and well. And even then, on her timeline, you'll find comments like, "Girlfriend, drop the visual. Girl, I can't with you." As though she were a friend of theirs whom they just hung out with last Tuesday, drinking Sir Davis and sharing tips on how to market Sacred.
Parasocial relationships describe the one-sided relationships that your fans have with you, where they are invested and interested in your life, have a psychological and emotional tie to you, yet you are unaware of their existence and this supposed connection. Parasocial relationships can happen with celebrities and fans, but also with everyday humans you encounter, or with fictional characters in a show. If a celebrity dies, it can elicit real mourning and grief. If a celebrity falls from grace, it could cause a real sense of betrayal that has physiological effects like they actually knew the person closely. This may sound extreme or silly, but I invite you to reflect on ways that certain stories or characters have had special meaning for you over the years, and that If someone spoke ill of your favorite movie or performer, you might feel a little protective.
The result of all this is that we get frustrated when they don't respond to us or acknowledge us individually as opposed to a collective.
I did not understand the weight of parasocial relationships until it happened to me. Let me tell you my story. As a creator, I tend to be more active on DM. So if I come across a question or something kind in response to something I post, I will always try to reply. So there was a follower. Let's give her the fake username of Beeboop. Okay, Beeboop was very supportive. She would always reply to my stories relating to my experiences, sharing her experiences here and there. I would always thank her or give her an emoji. And sometimes, you know, she would vent if she was having a bad day or something happened, you know, she would tell me and I would validate her emotions, and I feel like I maybe provided a safe space to do so. Like, I get it, we're all human. Sometimes we feel more comfortable venting to someone we don't know, to a stranger. That being said, I would never initiate a conversation on my end, but I would always try my best to reply. Before we continue the story, it is important to know that Beeboop was a private account. She did not have a first and last name, and also her profile picture was unidentifiable. You could not see the face. I announced my pop-up date. It was a freaking hit, baby. I was just really excited, but I knew that a lot of followers that I have DM'd or interacted with before were gonna show up. Day of the pop-up comes, it was hectic as hell. Oh my gosh, hosting is not for introverts. I was like running around like a headless chicken. I was trying to make conversation with people I knew, people I didn't know. I was trying to like make everyone feel comfortable. You know how hosting goes. Halfway through the pop-up, I went up to someone I didn't know and I said, hello. And she says, hi back. And I say, what's your name? And she's like, for the purpose of the story, it's a fake name. She says, my name is Cassie. And I was like, Cassie, it's so nice to meet you. Like, how are you enjoying this pop-up? Blah, 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 small talk. And she's like, nice to meet you too. And then she tells me that she was Beeboop. So after she told me she was Beeboop, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like, it's so nice to finally meet you, like, in person. Up until this point, I did not know who Beeboop was, okay? I did not know her name. I didn't know what she looked like. So this was when I connected the dots. I was like, okay, Cassie is Beeboop. Understood. We got to briefly chat a little bit more, maybe a couple more minutes. She was seated with someone else she met at the pop-up. So I was like, oh my gosh, she's in good company. Like, I feel like they're having a good time connecting. This is great. So I had to continue to run around. So I was like, nice to meet you. Enjoy yourselves and I'll see you guys later. I mean, that day was crazy, but I honestly, like, if you ask me now, I remember that conversation being really short and sweet and it was lovely. After 3 hours, the pop-up ends. I thought everyone had a great time. I noticed everyone smiling, laughing, doing things, eating, drinking. What more could you ask for? And I was exhausted. I go home and then I have a good night's sleep, and the next day I receive a DM from Cassie, aka Beeboop. I was confused because she said, I have to read this. Just wanted to say, thought it was very interesting when I came to your event yesterday and said who I was. You didn't seem to know who I was at all or recall our conversations when you approached me. So why bother talking to me at all if someone else is controlling and monitoring this account? I always react to content and mostly no one answers or replies to my reactions. Don't think that that's cool that you did, FYI. I was in shock because I honestly didn't know how anyone expects someone else to recognize them and know their name before they've even met. And in this specific case, I think she took it really personally that I didn't bring up all the past conversations that we had on DMs. I didn't know what to do, so I posted on stories immediately. I was like, hey you guys, I'm really sorry if in the future we meet and I don't recognize you even if we've DM'd before. I know this wasn't my fault, but I still felt really bad, so I had to like address it. The funny thing was I started going through all my video content and picture content from the pop-up, and it seemed to me that she was genuinely enjoying herself. Like, she was smiling in the pictures, she looked present, she was connecting. And then later, I found out that she was posting stories on her own Instagram saying not very nice things about my pop-up. I was upset because I felt like I tried really hard to go out of my way emotionally and financially to make this pop-up happen so everyone could have a good time. And this experience left a really sour taste in my mouth. But yeah, I'm now a lot more careful with who I interact with. I have learned that the internet is not as emotionally safe as it feels. So yeah, now I understand the weight of parasocial relationships.
The truth is, these people don't know us, which isn't wrong or bad. It simply is the truth. If we choose to support them, we do so at our own inclination. And if you ask me, I'd say support your favorites in order to preserve culture and art. Before getting into the rabbit hole of parasocial relationships, We need to ask ourselves, how much of their carefully curated timeline do we actually know to be authentic for sure? Do we even know these people? What is real and what isn't? Turning the mirror toward myself. These are questions I'm not sure that I have proper answers to, if I even have any answers at all. These are simply private musings that have now become public. Tell me what you think. Have you felt the seduction of parasocial relationships?